had a very short program. We had one student yesterday, but we had a good program still. And today we are going to have five students participating from two zones. So we will just have to make adjustments. So we are going to take the zone 3 students first, and they are speaking on a particular topic. I will get to the topic later. So we are going to take the student from zone 3 first, which would be the Mountain View Adventist Academy and the North Union Secondary. They will do their presentation first. We will not do the impromptu immediately after. We will continue straight into the next zone, where we will take the main speeches from these children from zone 4, and then we'll do all the impromptu together. All right, so that will be the order how we will proceed for this afternoon. But let me welcome one and all to French's house for the final preliminary competition for the FLO-sponsored National Secondary School Public Speaking Competition organized by the Lions Club of St. Vincent South. I'm hosting again today, and I am very pleased to say welcome to all those who are viewing on VC3, those who are listening to us live on WeFM, also on Nice Radio and NBC Radio. So we are here once again to do the final countdown, the final preliminaries for public speaking 2022. We are going to, at the end of today, select 6 students that will go forward into the finals that will take place at the Methodist Church Hall on the 25th of October, Tuesday the 25th of October. The 6 students who the judges determine will go on to that finals. We will like to have you back here if you are on the mainland. And so we will like to have you back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the room to the back, where we will have photographs of you being taken for the media, as well as for you to select the order of appearance for the finals, and to also give you the final main topic for the finals. The reason why we do it that close is to give you as much time as possible to have your preparation for that finals. And remember, at the finals, we are going to be having a main speech, a student-prepared speech, and the impromptu. So welcome once again, and today I will like to recognize that we have FLO showing up with their paraphernalia. Those of you who follow, you didn't have those yesterday and Tuesday. So FLO is fully with us. And they continue to provide very good support to public speaking for the many years that we have been involved in organizing this competition. So I want to say to FLO, thank you for your continued sponsorship, and to encourage one and all to give your support to the company that supports public speaking. Public speaking is a part of the National Independence Program, so the National Independence Committee recognized this, and when we had the launch of the Independence Program on Tuesday, we were represented and we highlighted the importance of public speaking at that launch. Today, I'm not going to take much time like I did yesterday. I will go straight into the proceedings for this afternoon. I will like first to invite Mr. Oscar Brown from the St. Martin Secondary School to offer a word of prayer for us today. Please stand.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let us pray. Oh, dear Lord, we are thankful for your blessings in bringing us to this place at this time. I pray, Lord, that as we are about to have this ceremony, this competition, I pray, Lord, that you will bless us, help it to be fair and just. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Remain standing for the first verse and chorus of the national anthem that we'll have in music.
Saint Vincent land so beautiful, with joyful hearts we pledge to thee our loyalty and love and vow to keep you ever free. Whatever future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true.
Please be seated. The official rule is that once the words are being sung, we do the full anthem. But the last 2 days we had the musical, but today I didn't realize we were having the words. But thank you very much. We must give recognition to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, this year being 43 years since we became an independent nation. And we've been singing that song, that anthem, for the last 43, maybe a little more years. So we all should know it. So keep it in your heart as we proceed into our independence period. So, as I indicated earlier, I'm not going to take much time to give you any speeches or any overview in respect to what is going to happen. I'm going straight into the competition. And today we have with us 5 students from 2 zones that are going to be participating in competition. Actually, the zone 3, the 3rd zone, we had a student that presented earlier but was not recorded, it was not publicized. The Georgetown Secondary School presented on that topic earlier, which we are going to hear 2 speakers here speak on. We are going to first hear from the Zone 3 students, which are, we'll first hear from Jermaine Ballantyne of the North Union Secondary School, and he will be followed by Andre Bowman from the Mountain View Adventist Academy. And they are going to be speaking on the topic, Russia's imperial ambition manifested in the Ukraine war with all its ramifications justifies the claim that the Kremlin is the source of all evil. So that's the topic you are going to hear from those 2 students. The second zone to speak, where we will be hearing from Oscar Brown from the St. Martin Secondary School, Elrose Millington from the Thomas Saunders Secondary School, and Keziah Delplesh from the Pittibudel Secondary School. They will be speaking on the topic, Marine and Air Transportation are critical to the development of our region. The current state of play is a clear indication that we are behind the 8 ball as far as our development priorities are concerned. So that's the topic for those 3 students from the Zone 4 area. What I'm going to do, I will have the Zone 4 students remain, and we will just have to ask the second student, that is Andre Bowman, to exit the room when his speaker, when the student from North Union is speaking. So Adrian in the back will escort you out, but you don't have to do that now. So just hold a while. We just want you to be here to hear the other details about the competition. And then when we get to the Zone 3 schools, the student from Thomas Sanders and P.T. Bedell Secondary will be escorted out as we hear from the first speaker from the Zone 3 schools, which is Oscar Brown. So that's what will happen as we proceed. I just want to let you know that today we have with us 3 distinguished judges who will be determining for us the persons who will proceed into the finals. Let me just get my notes together. And our judges are Judge number 1 has worked in administrative positions with the Methodist Church in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the University of the West Indies Open Campus. He is a former Secretary-Treasurer of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Christian Council. He has a keen interest in social justice matters and issues related to the development of small island states. He has studied in both Jamaica and Ireland. Put your hands together for Judge number 1, Mr. Ronnie Daniel. Judge number 2, a historian, a weekly columnist with the Searchlight newspaper, a social commentator. He is retired head of the University of the West Indies Open Campus in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Previously held positions of graduate teacher of the St. Vincent Grammar School, coordinator of the Glebe Development Project in Barely, coordinator of the Caribbean People's Development Agency, CARIPEDA, which is a regional NGO. He also served as treasurer of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union and president of the St. Vincent Football Association. He is an author of 6 books and of numerous articles and short biographies. He has lectured widely in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and across the region. Apart from his degrees in history, he also holds a certificate in social development from the Cody Institute of Nova Scotia, Canada. Put your hands together for Dr. Adrian Fraser. Our third judge, the lone lady, with a working career which began as a teacher, obtaining a teacher's certificate with the University of the West Indies in 1996. She studied multimedia technology and design at Brunel University of West London, United Kingdom, and graduated in 2001. In 2002, she started work with the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the Ministry of Telecommunication, Science, Technology, and Industry as a system analyst. She was assigned to assist with the formulation of the official government website, and which was launched in October of 2004, as well as the intranet in December 2005. She has undergone various training in information technology, project management, organizational and developmental change, and leadership training crucial to carrying out her duties. Presently, she is the Director of the Public Sector Reform Unit in the Ministry of the Public Service, Consumer Affairs and Sports. One of her duties is to assist the ministries and departments with various reform initiatives and training aimed at transforming the delivery of quality service throughout the public service. Put your hands together for Mrs. Emma Jackson, Judge number 3. So those are our 3 judges. And remember, we are going to be hearing from our students in delivering 2 speeches. Each speaker shall deliver those both a prepared speech and an impromptu speech. For the prepared speech, each speaker shall speak for a period not exceeding 10 minutes. For the impromptu speech, each speaker shall have 1 minute to consider the topic and no more than 2 minutes, to present on his or her topic. Any speaker who utilizes, let me repeat this, any speaker who utilizes less than 8 minutes of the allocated time for the prepared speech shall have 5 points deducted from his or her total score. Participants could refer to prepared notes from which they can deliver their presentations. For the prepared speech, participants not engaged in delivering their speeches shall be absent from the room at the time the speech is being delivered, unless he or she has already delivered his or her speech. The organizer shall appoint 3 judges, which we have just told you about, and each school is allowed 1 speaker. No person who participated in previous secondary school public speaking finals organized by the Lions Club South shall be allowed to participate. All finalists, I'm going to repeat this, all finalists will be required to attend a briefing tomorrow. I'm changing the words from the rule here, specifically saying tomorrow at 3 p.m. here at the French's house. We will be meeting with the 6 persons who are going forward to the finals on the 25th of October. The judges are going to be looking for your material, 20 points, your manner, the way you react and so on, 10 points, your language, 10 points, and the voice, 10 points. So for the main speech, you can receive a total of 50 points. For the impromptu speech, they will be allowed 5 points for each of those 4 areas of judging. And so it's 5 points each, a total of 20 points. So that's the details in respect to the judging. I want to recognize a representative here from Flo, our sponsor. Take a bow. Don't know if you wish to say a few words, are you? Okay, good. I did a lot already, so I will send the bill. So I spoke a lot about the good work that Flo is doing to support public speaking. And I indicated earlier that Flo has been with us before they were even Flo. Before that, they were with us as Lime, and even before that, they were with us as Cable and Wireless. So that's they are not just sponsor, they are a social partner when it comes to public speaking. Put your hands together for Flo for their very good work. Yes, so now we get into the actual part of the competition. So I would like to ask Adrian to take from me, Mr. Bowman. You can walk with your water, keep your throat moist. And your notes, you could spend you have about 10 minutes or less in the room at the back where you can refer. If your dad wants to be with you to, get you going, they can go with you if they wish, but by the time we finish the first speaker, we'll be ready for the second. All right, the others, you can stay, and when it's your zone, we will then have the second and third person escorted out. So let us get straight into competition. And we have with us my colleague, Lion Sharon Williams. She is our timekeeper. And remember, I said in the rules that you should not speak less than 8 minutes, otherwise you lose 5 points. So when you get to the podium, you will hear a first bell ring, and then you can proceed to speak. When it is the 8th minute, you will hear a second bell ring, and that indicates to you that you have another 2 minutes to wrap up. And if you go beyond 10 minutes, you will hear a longer bell ringing to say that's the time you should finish. So that's basically how the bell will ring. Sharon will time you and provide me with the time, which I will share with the judges. So let us proceed in competition and hear our first presenter for this afternoon from the North Union Secondary School. I just indicated the topic earlier on. Let me repeat for those who just joined the radio. The topic that the two speakers will speak on is this: Russia's imperial ambition manifested in the Ukraine war with all its ramifications justifies the claim that the Kremlin is the source of all evil. So we'd like now to invite our student, Jermaine Ballantyne from the North Union Secondary School to take the podium.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Lions Club, judges, teachers, students, good afternoon. Oh Lord, this also hot up again. Mr. Chairman, Russia's invasion of Ukraine is nothing but a new buff on an old sore that originated in the Cold War. One of its symptoms of this war is the manner in which actors and actions that oppose Western ideologies are labeled. In February 2022, the world was awoken to the news that Russia had invaded Ukraine. Are we to sit here and believe that an act that occurred in 2022 is the source of all the evil the world is facing? First, Mr. Chairman, let us consider the following. What is evil? Who is evil? And what makes one system of government more evil than the other? In the aftermath of the major world event that opposed the Western worldview, the word evil is heard routinely on all major news outlets. Vladimir Putin has been labeled as evil. So was Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi. Was George Bush labeled as evil after his unwarranted invasion on Iraq? According to Catherine Liu, an international relations specialist, evil implies more than doing harm or inflicting pain on the innocent. Behavior is evil when it attacks valued goods proffered by Western modernity. Such framing of evil is now being employed to describe the actions of the fortress in a city, the Kremlin, a phrase which is used metonymically to refer to the government of Russia. During the Cold War, the phrase was used to refer to the Soviet Union, whereas now it refers to the executive branch of the government, which is the office of the President Vladimir Putin. It must be noted that in 1993, Russia, through its constitution, was declared a democratic, federative, law-abiding state with a republican form of government. Despite the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Russia was able to assert itself and become a powerful social and political entity in our modern world. It is for this reason the Western propaganda machine would like us to believe that the evil regime, the Kremlin, is the source of all evil. I must re-emphasize that the latest chapter of the Russia-Ukraine war is only the most recent buff to an old sore. While this invasion aggregates many of the evils we are experiencing, such as inflation, the refugee crisis, and climate change, the Kremlin is not the source. Mr. Chairman, one of the greatest evils that we are experiencing today is the crippling inflation. The world is shocked, not just by the human tragedy of the battle, but also by the rising expense of feeding their families. Are we really going to attribute it to the Russian-Ukraine war when, since the middle of 2022, prices have been rapidly climbing? According to the Food and Agricultural Organization, the food price index increased by 55.2% between May 2020 and February 2022, driven mostly by a 159.4% increase in the cost in the cost of edible oils, sugar, dairy, and grain prices increased significantly during this time period. Many factors contributed to this inflation, namely export restrictions, increased freight, and fertilizer prices, thus resulting in higher overall costs of food and energy. However, can we really blame Russia for all of this? Let us bring it home. It is no fault of Russia that the state of food security in the Caribbean is so deeply impacted. After all, we seem to have an expensive taste for foreign products and refuse to buy from Mr. John, who sells his locally grown produce right at our front doors. Furthermore, prices for energy in the European Union and globally have significantly increased since the second half of 2021. The price increase, which began in 2021 and persisted through 2022, was worsened by Russia's military assault against Ukraine. But Russia is mainly an aggravator and not the source of this evil. Mr. Chairman, permit me to outline the factors that contribute to the increase in fuel price prior to this war. Number one, extreme climate conditions, including summer heat waves across Europe, which push up energy demand for cooling and add pressure on electricity generation. Two, increased demand for liquefied natural gas and consequent spike in its price. Three, greater consumption of gas in Asia due to the economic recovery. And four, the recent scarcity of nuclear and hydropower generation, partly linked to climate conditions. So, I ask this again, is the Kremlin the source of all evil? I do not know which is more evil, starting the war or financing the enemy at the gate. Russia supplies the European Union with around 40% of its natural gas, as well as about 25% of its oil and almost 50% of its coal. And this trade is continuing. Mr. Chairman, my grandmother once told me that the opola is worse than the thief. Another one of the main evils facing us in 2022 is the refugee crisis. According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, over 65 million persons worldwide are currently displaced by war, armed conflict, or persecution. What share of this 65 million is Russia responsible for? All of it? Half of it? The Russian aggression in Ukraine, according to the International Labour Organization, has resulted in an exodus of over 8 million people internally. So, who is responsible for the other 57 million? In summation, the Kremlin is currently being ostracized for the atrocities taking place in Ukraine, and understandably so. But according to Dmitry Peskov, NATO was created for confrontation, not for the defense, and she is definitely not a dove of peace. It is the undeniable fact that the war in Ukraine is a terrible act and has serious global implications. It is also indeed true that the Russian invasion has triggered sanctions, price hikes, and other obstacles that have hampered critical logistics and trade route operations, consequently impeding the flow of goods. However, these do not support the common claim that the Kremlin is the source of all evil. I thank you.
Thank you very much for our student from the North Union Secondary School, Jermaine Ballantyne. He spoke for 7 minutes and 38 seconds. 7 minutes and 38 seconds. We will now have our second speaker from the Mountain View Adventist Academy, and he will be speaking on that same topic from the Zone 3 group. And so we put our hands together. Remember, I indicated earlier that hope his voice will do us fine. But put your hands together again. Welcome Andre Bowman.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Lion Club South, judges, teachers, my fellow competitors, ladies and gentlemen. Chairperson, the topic for discussion deals with an issue that is very much unlike a light hidden under a bushel. It is an issue that affects and will continue to affect the entire world. The topic is Russia's imperial ambition manifested in the Ukraine war with all its ramifications justifies the claim that the Kremlin is a source of all evil. Mr. Chairman, before I state my position on this matter and present my supporting arguments, I think that it is expected that I define certain keywords. The word imperial, according to the Collins Online Dictionary, means, I quote, things or people that are or were connected with an empire. Ramifications refer to, I quote, the ramifications of a decision, plan, or events are all its consequences and effects, especially the ones which are not obvious at first. The source. The source is the person or place from which things originate from. The Kremlin. The Kremlin translates to a fortress inside a city and is commonly used to refer to the Russian government. Chairperson. The topic, therefore, is making the assertion that the Russian government's ambition to expand its empire, resulting in the invasion of Ukraine and all the negative consequences that followed, can be blamed solely on Russia, making the Kremlin the source of all evil. Chairperson, I beg to disagree. This fiasco is too big, too complex, too far-reaching in its scope to have only one major player. My grandmother would have said, there is more in a mortar beside a pestle. Before I continue, I would like to give an overview on what I would like to achieve in this presentation. Number one, firstly, I would like to give a brief historical background. Secondly, I will prove that the Kremlin is not the source of all evil. Third, I will draw a conclusion based on all of my arguments. Mr. Chairperson, war is terrible. The immense suffering, death, and mayhem affect soldiers and civilians alike. Those who declare wars stay in the comfort of their home. It is the young and the talented ones who are sent to fight and die. The only one who benefits are the ones who own and invest in the giant companies that manufacture weapons and military supplies. Therefore, it is not right for one sovereign nation to invade another and bring the horrors of war upon civilians, especially the old and the young. But the question begs to be asked, can a nation be provoked, and maneuvered into a dangerously tight spot so that the only way out is to use force? Mr. Chairperson, while we are trying to wrap our heads around this question, here is another. Was the United States of America in danger? Was it poked when it invaded Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, or Somalia? I find it hard to understand how the same thing can be right for one nation and absolutely wrong for another. The Bible clearly states that in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, and I quote, the love of money is a source of all evil. Money in this context can also be interpreted as greed or the desire to have what is not rightfully yours. Chairperson, Chairperson, Russia is the world's largest country, but she is so greedy that her main desire is to grab lands from her weaker neighbors. But this is also true for many other countries. For example, Chairperson, we all know as of right now, even as I speak, China is threatening to invade and take control of Taiwan. That, Chairperson, is what I consider as greed and evil. Chairperson, on the 30th of December 1922, Vladimir Lenin founded the Soviet Union, or more commonly called the USSR. It consisted of 15 countries, which included Ukraine and Russia, of course. The USSR was one of the global superpowers for the earliest 20th century. But on the 20th of December 1991, as a result of the Cold War, the USSR collapsed. The 15 states became individual sovereign countries. The USSR was no more. The Cold War was at an end. In an atmosphere of peace, Russia became a trading partner with all the countries of Europe. Europe benefited from cheap gas and oil from Russia. But NATO, which is an abbreviation for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, signed an agreement with Russia that it will not seek to expand and include those countries close to the Russian border. These countries were to remain neutral despite minor problems. The economies of most European countries were satisfactory for their citizens. If only the leaders of the NATO countries were content to leave it so, things would have been so much different. But warmongers are never happy in a state of relative peace. They are always driven by greed, the source of evil. NATO began to dishonor its agreement with Russia. Slowly, several countries close to Russia were accepted into NATO. These countries were armed with nuclear missiles. The common enemy being Russia. Things were already going downhill. There was something suspicious about the way the government of Ukraine was deposed and a new one installed. The new government, headed by Vladimir Zelensky, began applying for membership in NATO. It is not surprising, Chairperson, that the President Putin of Russia became very concerned. Some people, of course, argue, isn't Ukraine a free country? Can it not choose who it wants to be connected with? The answer to both questions is yes. However, if Ukraine joins NATO, Russia will have hostile nuclear missiles in its backyard. What will you do if you are Putin? Several renowned scholars saw what was happening. NATO had an agenda. Russia was to be surrounded. These scholars cautioned NATO, but NATO persisted with its agenda. For 8 years, Putin lamented on the matter on every forum, at every interview he held. Once even asked this question, I think it is a very pertinent question. Suppose I became so friendly with Canada and Mexico that they allowed me to put nuclear missiles in those countries, right on the border of the USA. What will the US government do? The question was answered in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis. America was prepared to have an all-out nuclear war with the USSR rather than have hostile nuclear missiles deployed in Russia. John F. Kennedy was hailed a hero. Chairperson, Vladimir Putin is now doing the same thing. Is he a devil? Is the Kremlin the source of all evil? Or is he a hero? Chairperson, it is my firm conviction that the Kremlin is not the source of all evil. The West is trying its hardest to demonize Russia for doing the same things it, in itself, has done multiple times before. I conclude by restating that it is a love of money, greed, the desire to control others, the devil, chairperson, is a source of all evil. This may apply to Russia and the Kremlin, but it also equally applies to several other nations. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bowman, from the Mountain View Adventist Academy. Andre Bowman spoke for 9 minutes and 47 seconds. In spite of his challenges, that with his voice, the remnants of the flu, he's still able to deliver. Thank you. I would like to proceed further and ask Adrian to escort to the waiting room for the other two participants, that is Elrose Millington from the Thomas Saunders Secondary and Keziah Delplesh from the Pittibodell Secondary. You can walk with your water if you need it and have a little time to prepare your minds to return. Okay, the next speaker we will hear from is from the St. Martin Secondary School, Mr. Oscar Brong, and he's going to be speaking on this topic, that is, marine and air transportation are critical to the development of our region. The current state of play is a clear indication that we are behind the 8 ball as far as our development priorities are concerned. So let's put our hands together now and welcome Oscar Brong to present on the topic.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the Lions Club South, teachers, my fellow competitors, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Marine and air transportation are critical to the development of our region. The current state of play is a clear indication that we are behind the 8 ball as far as our developmental priorities are concerned. Mr. Chairman, the ability to transport goods and services is fundamental for growth and development in any small island developing state. In a recent address by our nation's Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves expressed that the faces of many around the world are strained and anxious. The impacts of climate change, the implications of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine are preventing governments from expending resources on improving both marine and air transportation. What is marine transportation? Marine or waterborne transportation moves passengers, goods, or cargo by waterways, be it sea or river, while air transport refers to all movement by aircraft. Air transportation is significantly faster and more appropriate for the timely movement of passengers and perishable commodities. Why then are so both critical to effect sustainable development in my country? St. Vincent and the Grenadines is an archipelago within the Caribbean region. We, like all our members who form the body which makes up CARICOM, are separated largely by water and require a network of marine and air transportation to either conduct business, source pleasure, or successfully establish a livelihood within our boundaries, and more so, foster relationships with our fellow member states. There can be no real regional integration without a platform for efficient marine and air transport. Transportation is simply the lifeblood of regionalism. Our topic for discussion suggests that as a country, we are behind the 8 ball, meaning that for one reason or the other, St. Vincent and the Grenadines is unfavorably positioned to take advantage of any developmental opportunities within the region, since our marine and air transportation are woefully lacking. While this may be the case regarding air transportation, the same cannot be said for marine transportation. And as such, I am inclined, Mr. Chairman, to disagree with the generalized claim that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is behind the 8 ball as it regards all forms of transportation. Instead, I wish to submit that we have witnessed exponential growth in our local, regional, and international marine transportation. But we continue to see a retardation in air transportation, particularly regional air access. In its final address for 2019, CARICOM's Secretary General, Ambassador Erwin Larocque, said that, and I quote, "An increase in air travel can boost growth and employment. Air travel can play an important role in stimulating economic activity throughout the region and in supporting continued regional integration and cooperation." End quotation. Yet, a closer look at our air transportation throughout the region has revealed that for years we have been and still likely are behind the 8 ball. This is evident in the repeated failure of airlines such as Liat, Caribbean Star, Biwi, and the inefficiency of more recent airlines such as Inter-Caribbean and One Caribbean, which have proven themselves to be excellent attempts with marginal success. It appears that getting from point A to point B is an unfixable puzzle. In 2019, prior to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the World Bank reported that, and I quote, "nearly 9.1 million tourists visited the Caribbean, the vast majority of which passed through airports." End quotation. Our economy, like that of many economies within CARICOM, is heavily dependent on the efficient operation of air transportation. In our small island state, tourism accounts for approximately 46.2% of our country's gross domestic product. It is, as stated by the World Bank, the main driver of growth and employment in our country. Therefore, air transportation and its complementing infrastructure are paramount to the success of our tourism industry and, by extension, to our growth and development. It is little wonder then that when COVID-19 dealt its first blow in 2019, it drove the final nail in Liat's coffin, concluding the airline's demise and unraveling already weakened economies. Its bankruptcy resulted in loss of jobs and revenue, the effects of which were felt throughout the entire region. A little closer to home, our government, in vying for a 3rd term in office, campaigned heavily on the promise to, and I quote, "complete the $600 million airport at Argyle, improve and expand Liat, and among other things, strengthen the nexus between Liat and Caribbean Airlines." End quotation. 5 years on, the airport is completed, but the growth in areas of import-export trade, as well as business and pleasure tourism and travel within the region is still being awaited. So, we celebrate the infrastructure while we await the rapid increase in air access. The proposed daily American Airlines flights from Miami to St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 2023 are promised to be a major game changer. This would add to the 2 weekly Virgin Atlantic flights from Heathrow International to Argyle International. As it relates to marine transportation, on the other hand, our ability to manage, manipulate, and take advantage of the opportunities proffered by marine transportation has grown in leaps and bounds. We have lived by the sea as far back as when our native people, the Siboneyes, Arawaks, and Caribs, inhabited our island. They skillfully used canoes to facilitate movement and trade. This evolved into sailboats, yachts, and ships, and then into cruise ships and cargo freights. In fact, major sea lines such as Geest and Tropical continue to move tons of cargo on a weekly basis. Undoubtedly, marine transportation has always been the more reliable and more profitable of the two, and thus our investments in it through the building and enhancing of seaports, cruise terminals, and ferry docks are justified. Within our own archipelago, we rely heavily on the services of Admiral Bay, Beckway Express, the MV Barracuda, the MV Gemstar, Jade and Son, and many others to facilitate the transportation of people and goods to and from the islands. In addition, Mr. Chairman, cruise tourism on average generates almost $20 million a year in cruise tourism expenditure, according to a survey done by the Business Research and Economic Advisors. This income generator is the catalyst for the development of local sites and enhancement of indigenous festivals. Mr. Chairman, the existence of an efficient, adequate, and modern port facility to accommodate passengers and cargo would be the icing on the proverbial cake. In summary, it is clear that marine and air transportation are far too important to the livelihoods of the working people of my country to be given scant regard. With the IMF and World Bank as sources of funding, it is imperative that our governments within the region capitalize on the following recommendations. Number one, there is a need for unity among member states of CARICOM towards contributing to regional transportation, both air and sea, since it is a public good necessary for our development. Number two, there is a need for citizen participation in the process through much needed private sector investment. Citizens should buy shares and truly own airlines and ships. The opportunity should be properly packaged and marketed throughout the region. After all, the banks are crying about the issue of over-liquidity. And number three, I encourage the powers that be to attract the necessary foreign direct investment, particularly to fund the hemispheric marketing campaign to ensure that we have the clientele necessary to provide the throughput for a viable business. To be or not to be, air and sea transport in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Without these two essential peas in a pod, we would not be able to attain sustainable growth and development in the foreseeable future. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Oscar Brown. You spoke for 9 minutes and 2 seconds. Put your hands together once again for before the other participants return, it's always a pleasure to see the boys at the head table. I lament year go year come that the boys' presence are dwindling and so on, and it's really a pleasure that you're here, so thanks once again. So we will continue with this. Our next speaker, the next speaker, Elrose Millington from the Thomas Saunders Secondary School, will continue on this very topic, and we'll have 10 minutes to present on the topic. Yes. Put your hands together as she proceeds to the podium. Yes. I see your colleagues over there, very excited to see you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Lions Club South, judges, teachers, my fellow competitors, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good afternoon. According to the Oxford Dictionary, transportation is a system for carrying people or goods from one place to another using various means. As the great Chris Lerner eloquently put it, transportation is like a magnifying glass that shows you the strength of a civilization up close. Esteemed audience, when Vincentians look up close at the strength of our marine and air transportation, what do we see? Let me give you a hint. Breaking news, Gemstar Ferry burns in the Kingston Harbor. Edinburgh residents are asked to advise to lock up their homes, Searchlight newspaper 2019. This just in, local artist Skinny Fabulous pens letter to Liat begging for its return. We miss you and we are sorry. Says the artist, according to Loop News 2022. Marine and air transportation are critical to the development of the Caribbean region. However, the current state of play is a clear indication that we are behind the eight ball as far as our development priorities are concerned. I will fortify my stance by expanding on the following points. 1. St. Vincent's late entry into the international airspace. 2. The country's struggle to fully recover from the loss of our primary airline, the Leeward Island Air Transport, also known as LIAT. 3. The relatively small scale of our country's exports. And 4. The comparatively low budget allowances allocated to the improvement of maritime transport. A logistic problem that many countries face in today's competitive environment is the dilemma of choosing the superlative mode in which the people and their goods are fitted to travel. Furthermore, the Caribbean has become increasingly dependent on ocean and air transportation as land transportation declines in practicality. What's worse, St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been disproportionately affected by the region's transportation challenges. Let us turn our attention to air, where the development of our air transportation facilities is lagging behind the regional counterparts. Some might argue, how could that be when we have an international airport? But let's look at the facts. Our international airport, the Argyle International Airport, AIA, was opened on the 14th of February 2017, whereas Barbados' Grantley Adam International Airport opens its doors in 1976, St. Lucia's Huanora International Airport began operation in 1941, and St. Jamaica's Norma Mantley and Sangsters International Airport launched in 1948. This timeline shows that we were quite literally a century behind our neighbors. Moreover, Mr. Chairman, many of these countries have long since gone on to open more or expand their international airports. Furthermore, our international airport closes at around 9 p.m., whereas those of our regional counterparts are operational 24/7. Thus, our schedule poses a challenge to the Merijet's ability to deliver goods in a timely manner. This begs the question, can we truly say that we are as advanced as the rest of our region if most countries commission their international airports in the 20th century while we wait until the 21st? We are literally playing catch up. Additionally, the Leeward Island Airport, LIAT, one of the region's main form of air transportation, ceased its operation due to the months of losses. This was announced on June the 27th, 2020, by the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown. While St. Vincent and the Grenadines was no doubt not the only country negatively affected by this loss, the fallout from the unfortunate event exposed how comparatively unequipped our nation was to handle this loss. But don't take my word for it. Take the word of the national figure and known globetrotter, Jamal Skinny Fabulous Doyle, as stated by Loop News 2022. Mr. Fabulous laments that there are days when Vincentians cannot get flights to other islands and protests the undependable schedule Vincentians are left to deal with. Meanwhile, countries such as Barbados responded to the loss considerably well and redirected their efforts into working with other air carriers. With Prime Minister Honorable Mia Mottley saying, when you have a choice between keeping people fed and putting money into an airline which has no passengers for the better part over a year, then you really don't have a choice. Make no mistake, Barbados' ability to quickly adjust to this loss is a testament to the strength and resiliency of air transportation system. Accordingly, let us divert our attention to a true measure of the size and strength of a nation's marine and air transportation, the scale of its product exports. After all, marine and air transportation are how Caribbean nations transport their goods to all corners of the earth. Moreover, the fleet must be grand and well equipped for the task. According to the Observatory for Economic Complexity, the OEC, St. Vincent and the Grenadines transported a respectable $71.1 million worth of products, such as passenger and cargo ships, recreational boats, petroleum, and wheat products. Let's compare that to countries who export similar products, such as Antigua and Barbuda, that boast a whopping $134 million worth of product exports, or Barbados, which reports a staggering $330 million of these same products. Are we going to argue that these countries have more resources to offer than St. Vincent and the Grenadines? No. The size and scale of their transportation systems are simply more equipped to sustain international demands. Another crystal clear indication that St. Vincent and the Grenadines does not equally prioritize the development of air and marine transportation facilities comes by comparing the national budget allocations to this very cause. After all, money talks. According to figures produced by St. Vincent's Ministry of Finance in 2021, out of a staggering $317 million, the 2021 budget only allocated $41.1 million to be spent on the port redevelopment project. As a matter of fact, this figure was only proposed because push finally came to shove, as the budget states that they could no longer ignore the poorly designed and decaying port facilities. Compare this reactionary response to the proactive response of Trinidad and Tobago, where in 2022, the Ministry of Finance dedicated $250,000 to modernizing A&R Robinson International Airport, opening new fishing facilities with state-of-the-art new fishing vessels, and researching more efficient, cost-effective, alternative marine fuels to use in their shipping vessels. Mr. Chairman, this is just another testament to the fact that we are yet to set our priorities straight when it comes to the advancement of our marine and air transportation system. It seems now that the infamous mental image from April 2019 of the MV Gemstar ferry drifting aimlessly and engulfed in flames was a dire representation of our transportation industry. Marine and air transportation are economic lifelines in this increasingly globalized world we live in. However, the delayed opening of our international airport, our struggle to bounce back after Liat left the island stranded, the small scale of our exports, and our relatively low budget allocations to the advancement of marine and air transportation facilities show a clear and widening gap between the advancement of air and marine transportation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to the rest of our regional neighbors. In the spirit of optimism, I am confident that one day our little island will be leading the pack But until then, we must catch up before we keep up. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Elrose Millington from the Thomas Saunders Secondary School. She spoke for 10 minutes and 7 seconds. Put your hands together for Elrose. Good. We will now hear from our representative from the Pitty Bedell Secondary School, Keziah Delplesh. She is going to represent her school on this very topic. As she enters the room, put your hands together for Keziah. And welcome her supporters from Pitty Bedell. Thank you for coming to support her.
Honorable members, there are more serious issues to discuss than attacking each other. Do you know what I went through to get here today? Imagine in Little St. Vincent, I had to wait for hours before getting a ride from Chateaubelair to Kingston. Mr. Chairman, members of the Lions Club South, judges, teachers, my fellow competitors, ladies and gentlemen. Chairperson, transportation is indeed a necessity in today's time and age since we need to get from point A to point B and on time. It is on this note that I agree that marine and air transportation are critical to the development of our region. The current state of play is a clear indication that we are behind the 8 ball as far as our development priorities are concerned. The Oxford Study Dictionary defines transportation as the action of transporting someone or something, or the process of being transported. Chairperson, according to Grammarist.com, the phrase behind the 8 ball derives from the game of pool, where you are not supposed to hit the 8 ball into a pocket. If one is behind the 8 ball, it simply means that they are in a tough or losing situation. Are we behind the 8 ball in terms of development as it relates to the air and marine transportation? Chairperson, yes, we are way behind the 8 ball. As a matter of fact, we are not even close. The current state of infrastructural development within the region's marine and air transport system requires urgent attention. Many entry points for transportation are often neglected. As a result, offering marine transport for goods and services are hindered or kept at a minimum. The Kingston Port of Entry in St. Vincent is the only entry point for the transport of most goods coming into the country, and it still has to provide travel service for the populace. Evidence of deterioration can be seen on the wharf and service buildings, which indicate signs of neglect. How can we speak of being developed when the basic amenities are in deplorable conditions? There is a newly constructed jetty in Chateaubelair which can be utilized for marine transport from neighboring islands, which allows more room for development. Can you imagine in this day and age there is no form of marine transportation from the tongue of Chateaubelair to Kingston? As a matter of fact, we don't even have a port of entry at this said wharf. Similarly, in Jamaica, according to Muriga 2019 in the Latin American and Caribbean Macroeconomic Report, fiscal constraints led to insufficient maintenance and significant deterioration with defects in areas such as goods clearance, process at ports and airports. Based on these reports, it is evident that we are behind the 8 ball in terms of development of marine transportation among Caribbean islands. Maintenance of basic amenities must be enhanced and feasible alternatives must be created. Another aspect to be considered in this situation of our many airport facilities or the lack thereof. According to Goret and Bolas 2019, in the Latin American and Caribbean Macroeconomic Report, Guyana's air and port facilities require operational modernization. This compared to Grenada's international airport, which requires substantial repair and improvement, present minimal signs of growth over time. There is need for the development of transportation corridor linking Caribbean countries together to improve investment and stimulate economic growth through frequent maintenance and construction of modern facilities to foster growth and development. The improvement of the airport infrastructure will reduce the cost of transportation in and out the country, which complement the development of the transportation corridor among island states. In order to be considered as being on the 8th ball of development, there needs to be fostering of greater infrastructural investments, improved maintenance policies for existing assets, and support related institutional settings within the region. Development of air and marine transportation are critical to the movement of goods and services. Developing air and marine transportation is a win-win situation not only for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but the Caribbean on a whole. Times have changed and we must adapt if we ought not to be left behind. Marine and air transportation need to be developed to enable easy movement of people and goods between Caribbean islands. If this transporting system is developed, the Caribbean region can operate as one united body. Together, the Caribbean can achieve more. Let us take Liat service, for example. That was the air transportation mainly relied upon in the Caribbean to transport persons from one island to another, whether it is for business or pleasure. Liat, however, went out of business, and this did not only affect the movement of people and goods, but also the economy of many small islands. What if we had other means of transporting persons? When Liat went bankrupt, this affected a lot of businesses. For instance, planes tend to reach its destination faster than boats. Businesses tend to use planes as a means of transportation, importing documents from other headquarters, since a company can operate or have different branches in different Caribbean islands. Sagicor, for example, can be found in St. Lucia. Chairperson, we have marine transportation, but those are mainly used for the transportation of goods between islands and not people. We should have been able to take a ferry from here to Barbados, Dominica, or any island, but the way the transportation system is set now, we can only take a ferry from here to the Grenadines Island. And if we are lucky, we might be able to reach as far as Caracou, and depending on the day, Grenada. Most times, one has to wait on some sort of excursion. Ferry from Martinique visits St. Vincent on a regular basis, only when the tourist season is at its peak. Why can't we do that even when it's not tourist season? This can help to boost the economy of these small islands rather than persons choosing to shop online, contributing to the economies of bigger countries like China and the United States of America. Sometimes persons get sick and have to go to another island, and it is difficult to do so. They have to book flights in advance, and that can take up to weeks or even months, even though it is an emergency. By the time the flights become available, chairperson, the individual has long gone to the great beyond. If we work towards developing the marine and air transport system in the region, the Caribbean will be a force to reckon with. Chairperson, another factor to consider is the need of networking to foster interregional tourism. There is no set schedule for routine flights and frequent ferry services connecting the islands in a way to promote inter-Caribbean tourism when it comes to development. In order to facilitate this, governments within the region can collaborate to construct inter-Caribbean air and sea schedules. These schedules may include regional tourist itineraries in addition to those available for internationals. Moreover, these schedules can be marketed by making transportation available specifically for events within the Caribbean, such as cultural festivities that are unique to the Caribbean islands, such as Carnival. Chairperson, instead of persons pouring huge amounts of money into huge tourist trips and already with CEOs, it will be great for them to do island hopping via ferries or yacht. When they are tired of marine transportation, getting a flight shouldn't be so problematic. Chairperson, wouldn't it be fun to travel to another island in a submarine? I can only imagine what it would be like looking at fish swimming over and around you. This in itself will boost tourism and be a plus for Caribbean regions. Chairperson, Time does not permit me to continue this discussion, so in summary of the above, one cannot help but to agree that marine and air transportation are critical to the development of our region. The current state of play is indeed a clear indication that we are behind the eight ball as far as our development priorities are concerned. If as a region we unite, we will be able to move mountains and break borders. We will prosper as a region. Chairperson, the movement of goods and services will be efficient. It is heartbreaking too that our infrastructures are not developed like other countries who are on the eight ball or in front of the eight ball. And once we get these in place, we will at least be near the eight ball and our economies will benefit because more tourists will come because we will now have a number of choices as it results to transportation. I thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Keziah Delpesh. Yes, have your water. You spoke for 9 minutes and 1 second. So we have heard from 5 students so far in their main presentation from Zone 3. We heard from Jermaine Ballantyne from the North Union Secondary School and Andre Bowman from the Mountain View Adventist Academy. We also heard from Zone 4, we heard from Oscar Brown from the St. Martin Secondary School, Elrose Millington from the Thomas Saunders Secondary, and Keziah Delpesh from the Pitty Bedell Secondary. So our 5 students. Before I go into the next round, which is the impromptu category, I want to recognize our president who has joined us a while ago, Lion Diane John. She is here with us. Put your hands together for our president, Diane. Want also to acknowledge the support of you, the students who have come out here, and the teachers and parents for your students. Really good. The next round, which requires for the student to come to the podium in the same order in which you appear this afternoon. You will select a topic from the pouch, from this envelope. You will hand the topic to me. I will read the topic to the audience, and you could walk with a little notepad and your pen. You will be given 1 minute to consider the topic. So when you get here to the podium, the bell will ring for you to start preparing your notes. So you have 1 minute. When that 1 minute is finished, you will hear another bell ring that is for you to start speaking. So you have 1 minute to consider the topic, and then you have 2 minutes to present your speech. There is no penalty if you speak for less than 2 minutes, like in the main speech, if you had a penalty if you go under 8 minutes. There's no penalty. If you have so much thoughts flowing and you want to speak for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, you can go on, but the judges will ignore you when the third bell ring for the end of the 2 minutes. Okay? So that's the order. I have some very nice topics in this bag, and you will be comfortable. You don't need to go over the protocol at this stage. You have done that earlier. So I am going to begin by calling on our first representative, Jermaine Ballantyne from the North Union Secondary School. You need any paper? Oh, you're good, okay. Oops, sorry. And you're taller than me, right? So let me get this mic right. And his topic is losing a friend. Losing a friend. That's the topic for Jermaine. get piece of paper. Don't start the bell yet.
Imagine having someone close to you, someone that is important, someone that you cherish, and one day an incident occurs, having to hear that the person that you cherish, that they are no longer in your life. It is not a good feeling. I thank you.
All right, thank you. I thank you, dear Jermaine. Valentine spoke for 56 seconds. Very good. I will proceed with Andrew Bowman from the Mountain View Adventist Academy. Have a pen? I will give you a sheet of paper. And his topic is awards. Awards. AWARDS.
Okay then. Okay, awards, right? What are what? Okay, awards. What are awards, right? An award is something that you are rewarded or you get for winning a certain event or a competition of anything. There are multiple different types of awards, right? There are multiple different types of awards, right? You may get a trophy, you might get a cash, you might get maybe even a trips, right? But to me, personally, the best part about getting an award is going up on the stage and getting it, right? Right? But there are different pros and cons to like awards, right? The winner or the person or persons who get awards, they may feel good. Like they get the award, like when you go up on the stage and you get the award, you feel good, right? But then again, right, at the same time, right, the persons who don't get the award, right, like having to sit down and watch the person on the stage, right, you're like watching them up there, right? It could make them feel bad in the moment, right? But I believe that this is good because next time they will have an incentive, like a good incentive to try hard, try their very best next time, right? But here, that I have, and I thank you.
All right. Like you wanted to win this award here today. You spoke for 1 minute and 57 seconds. 3 seconds shy of your time limit. Thank you very much, Andre Bowman, on the topic awards. We now proceed with Oscar Brown from the St. Martin Secondary School. And his topic is nice car.
Afternoon again, everyone. I have been asked to, I've been asked to elaborate on the topic, nice car. I believe that, and I know we may believe that having a nice car or different high-valued commodities are good. They're something that show that you have worked for what you have, whether it be legal or illegal. But in the eyes of your community, your parents, your friends, your teachers, having a nice vehicle, driving it to school at the age you're supposed to have a license. We're not dealing anything illegal here, but just saying. Having those things are a testament to your work and to your dedication. And so I think that having a nice car shows that you are somebody who is willing to work towards your dreams. I thank you.
Oscar Bronx from the St. Martin Secondary School spoke for 1 minute and 12 seconds on the topic, nice car. Whether legal or illegal, We continue, and we'll now have Elrose Millington from the Thomas Sanders Secondary. And her topic is school fees. School fees.
Good afternoon again. Protocols has already been established. The topic I have to speak on for today is the school fees. To the best of my knowledge, school is known of the place where our foundation of education is. Talking about education, education is the thing that gives us more, where we go to have not where school is a place that we go to have knowledge and understanding about certain things that we may not have known on our own. Fees. When we think about fees, what do you think about? Money. Money is normally what people or persons are normally thinking about when we hear fees. So, for some things that we pay school fees for are activities in school, such as lunch programs, paying for our even subjects, or even for book loans that some of us may be on. Lunch programs. Branching off our lunch program. Lunch program is a program that students who are not fortunate to have lunch are offered to have something to be eaten at the stroke of 12 o'clock. Paying for subjects. When you reach the level of Form 5, as most of us are today, you have to pay for the subjects that you are going to sign up for. Also, for extracurriculums, for example, sports like netball, tennis, even swimming. Ladies and gentlemen, I think
Thank you very much, Elrose. Spoke for 2 minutes and 2 seconds. And we have the very ready Keziah. She's going to that piece for you. All right, our topic is hairstyles. Hairstyles.
Good evening, everyone. The topic I chose is hairstyles. I personally love hairstyles. Someone once told me that your beauty lies on your hair. Well, every morning before I go to school, I day in the mirror well slicking my hair, and my mother have to run me out of the bedroom. We're going to school for? You're going to school for hairstyles, you're going to look man. There are many different types of hairstyles. You can either get your hair braided, well, locks the in, everybody want that. Fallocks, not you, Miss Robertson. And you could get updo and so on. I thank you.
So now we know who we have to come to in the next few years to get our hairdo, our hairstyles. Right, Keziah? Keziah spoke for 54 seconds on the topic of hairstyles. Okay, let us all put our hands together for all 5 speakers. They all did a good job. Let me say, it is not an easy thing to come up here not knowing what you're going to pull in impromptu. And for you to on your feet have 1 minute just to prepare some thoughts and have to speak to an audience. Not just this audience in the room, all those who are listening on the World Wide Web, across the region. This is wide. So this is a very good opportunity for students to really come forward and deliver. So they all did well, and I appreciate the effort that the teachers put in preparing. So they are going to be before the end of the day, the decision of the judges, where we are going to hear about the results. We are going to select the 6 finalists, and we will communicate with the media. The media will bring the reports, Dion, by 7:30 NBC Radio in the morning. We could all hear the 6 finalists. From our side, we will call the schools tomorrow as well, just in case you didn't listen to NBC Radio or WFM or Nice Radio, or you didn't view VC3. We will try and reach to the schools that where the 6 finalists are going to come from. We will want you to return here, not this room, but the holding room. In the back, we will have it available for you to come for us to have a briefing. So the 6 finalists, you can come along with a teacher, because we are going to share with you the rules, the procedures for the finals. We will give you the topic for the final, and we will take photographs for the media and for our sponsor, Flo, to know who are the 6 people. Come in your uniform, and we will prepare you for the 25th of October. On the 25th of October, Tuesday, we expect that the 6 finalists will appear at the Methodist Church Hall by 6:30 in the afternoon, in the evening. And so 6:30 in the evening, you will be there, and then the finals will be brought live on VC3, SVG Television, and all the various media houses. They will be covering, including the Searchlight newspaper. They were here yesterday. They are here today. Recognizing and thanking all the media houses for supporting and carrying this event. So we are at the end of the preliminaries. I wish to formally thank you, the judges, for your hard work. It's not easy, but we look forward for you to be at the finals as well, when we'll have 2 additional judges to join you in determining the public speaking champion for 2022. Thank you, teachers, and the principals, parents, all for supporting our students. Thank you to French's House for making this space available to us. I would like to say thanks to our other Lions colleague who have volunteered, and Adrian from the Richmond Vale Academy. Thank you for coming and supporting us. Lion Sharon, she's my shoulder. She keeps my head standing. So thank you, Sharon, for carrying on with the timekeeping. Very efficient, very good. So that's where I would like to bring this part of our program to a close, and we look forward for you to join us on the 25th at the Methodist Church Hall. Until that time, on behalf of the Lions Club St. Vincent South, Flo, our sponsor, and the Ministry of Education, our partner, want to extend a very good weekend to one and all.